Welcome to the Posecast panel edition. This week we'll be covering the Western Conference. We have another edition with a sub in from TJ last week. I'll get to that in just a moment. Before we get started, though, just want to remind everyone to visit basketballnews.com and listen and to subscribe to all of our podcasts powered by basketballnews.com on your favorite platforms. Of course, before we get started, I want to let everybody know that we have Etan Thomas, Antoine Walker, Kendrick Perkins, and of course, our birthday boy, as that's the host, James Posey. But before we get into everything, well, everybody know we have a major trade to discuss, and we're going to get everybody's reaction in just a moment. The first part of the trade, of course, is the Nets getting James Harden. Big time trade, blockbuster trade in the middle of the year. The Rockets get Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Radunas Caruso, 3 unprotected future first-round draft picks, 1 Milwaukee first-round draft pick, and 4 Brooklyn first-round pick swaps. The Pacers get Karis LeVert in a second-rounder, and the Cavs get Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. Now, Pose, since you're in Houston and you're also the birthday boy, happy birthday, by the way, what's your take on all this that went down today?
Man, they trying to take my shine on my birthday, man, but you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I appreciate my guys joining me. Big Perk, A Walker, A Boogie over there at E-Time, man. I appreciate y'all joining. But
yes, sir.
Man, January 13th, big trade. I mean, James Harden, that's what he wanted, right? So he out of here. So he's going to Brooklyn. What y'all feel about that? In returns, they basically just get Victor Oladipo. Is that great compensation for that for letting Harden go? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But hey, James Harden got what he want. What'd you feel about that, Perk?
I think in my opinion, both sides won. I mean, you got a disgruntled superstar in James Harden. Victor Oladipo is a right under him. When you look at guys like, James Harden, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Giannis, those guys who always finish in the MVP conversation, then you look at the next tier players, and Victor Oladipo is right there. Just think about what he was doing right before he got injured. This was a guy that was putting up 26 a night, and he was looking healthy this year. So the Rockets had to trade him because after he made his statements last night, they sure couldn't bring him back in the locker room all around the team. So it kind of forced their hand, and I thought that Victor Oladipo, now they can experiment with him, meaning they don't have to be locked into him because he is auditioning to get a contract with the Rockets. He's on his last year of his deal, and if things are not working out, they could trade him again.
Right. True. Boogie, what you think?
Man, I got so many emotions for this, but I'm gonna keep it simple. I think it's a win-win. Obviously, it's a win-win. I mean, for both teams. I mean, for Brooklyn, if you can get a guy like James Harden, I mean, I'm not going to take away from what he's been able to do. I'm still, even when Kyrie comes back, if they figure that out, I'm interested to see 3 guys that are ball dominant really work. We talk about a big 3, but 3 guys in the prime of their career to act, you actually ask guys to actually sacrifice. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to do it. But on paper, they look good. I mean, when you add, arguably 3 of the top 20 guys in the league on the same team, I mean, you got to have nothing but championship aspirations. I think also, too, with them, they got to make this a multi-year thing. If it doesn't work this year, if you somehow get beat, you can't just break the team up and say it didn't work. Because if you think about when the Miami Heat joined, the first year they lost in the finals. So you got to take time to put the pieces around them. I don't know, with this COVID and all this stuff going on, they're going to be able to, put the right team to be a championship team. So that remains to be seen. But Brooklyn did win. They got, you to add a guy like that in the prime of his career is unbelievable. Just to kind of piggyback what Perk talked about with Houston, I think it's great. I think it's great for Victor Oladipo. I think Indiana was starting to move away from him. If you started to watch Indiana games, they were starting to go with their other core. T.J. Warren, those guys made a good run. So they were starting to go in a different direction. And now you go back to more of a traditional lineup. If you look at Houston's lineup right now, you got John Wall, a real point guard, Victor Oladipo, a legit 2, P.J. Tucker, Christian Woods, Eric Gordon. You got more of a traditional lineup. And I'm happy for Silas. You got to see how we sometimes forget about the coaches in this situation. First time this black coach has got an opportunity to coach a team, 19 years of being an assistant, and now he gets a clean locker room. He gets to put his stamp on it, with so many things he could not do, just waiting on James and trying to do everything to fit him. Now he gets a chance to put his stamp on the team. So I think both teams made the right move. Houston did a good thing. They wasn't going nowhere with James Harden. They shot their wad with him. They gave him 7 years, gave him different multiple players to give him a chance to see if he could bring a championship. He wasn't capable of doing it. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a good trade for both teams.
Etan, how you feel about it?
I mean, it's interesting. So I just played my son in 2K, and he was Brooklyn, and they gave me the business. I mean, so if they play like the game that I just saw, I mean, it was like because he spread them out. KD was at the 4. What's my man, the shooter, the little white boy?
Joe Harris.
He just stuck Joe Harris in the corner. I mean, if they play like that, I think they could really be dangerous. But it's going to be interesting to see, how they share the ball. One of the things that I noticed from watching Brooklyn is in the fourth quarter, I saw, KD didn't get a whole lot of shots a couple of them games. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't getting the ball as much. And, I saw Kyrie taking the majority of the shots. And, when you add James Harden to that mix, you have to see how they're going to work together, how they're going to share the ball. But if they get it, if they work all that out, they could be dangerous. They could be really dangerous. But we got to see what's going on with Kyrie. We got to see what's, a lot of question marks going forward, but we'll see.
But you know what?
Go ahead.
I want to add one point to that. I want to add one point to that. One mistake that James made that I don't think no player in the NBA should make. He passed up. I thought that he should have took that 2-year, $103 million extension because that wouldn't have affected anything. Like you can't pass up that type of money on the back end, right? You still would have got traded. You still would have been able to get traded, but you don't pass up an extension for 2-year, $103 million. I'm sorry, I just had to add that.
I agree.
That's real.
I mean, but they playing with different money than we was playing with. We talked about that last time. You know what I mean? So their cap is just different. Like the way they look at it. I mean, who's we talking about last time who passed up a big payday? And we were saying like, we wouldn't do that in our day.
It was a young boy. It was a young fella.
Yeah, it was a young cat. Who's we talking about? But they just
John Collins from Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
there we go. That's who it was.
It wasn't even an all-star, nothing. Like
right, John Collins.
You wanted Bam, but like, come on, man, ain't nothing to me. And y'all know from playing. Hell, I mean, 4-year 90, you might as well say that's 100. It's nothing that you can't do
right.
That you can do with.
Nah, you're right. You're right. Nah, you're 100% right. But like I said, the salaries are higher, and the amount of money that the league is making is more. So everything is kind of inflated. Just like we would see guys from a few decades before us, they'd be saying the same thing about us. Like, man, look at all the money y'all making. You know what I mean? So I think it just keeps going up and up, and that's the beauty of the sport, though, man. I gotta be honest with you, man. I love seeing these young brothers make money, but I'd be nervous when they turn it down because it's such a gamble. That's what I'd be nervous for them.
Right. And I for every single one of y'all, I got a question since we're talking about the money. With the way that Kyrie has been acting, with the way that James Harden has been acting, right? This is pissing the owners off. You hear GMs talking, you hear owners talking right now about are these organizations going to hold them accountable? Here's my thing. You had guys like Larry Bird, Magic, Jordan. All these guys were getting a max of $3 million a year before Jordan, towards the tail end of his career. Those guys weren't getting paid much, right? So those guys paved the way for guys like ourselves to get a nice bag while we was playing. And then we withheld that and did things the right way and paved the way for guys like today to get the right bag. So my question to y'all is that the way that these guys are conducting themselves, are they going to affect the bag that they're getting for the next generation of kids?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I'll say it like this, though. Magic and them ran their teams. Isaiah and them ran their teams. You know what I mean? Like you hear stories about how they acted and stuff. They just didn't have no social media. Right. That was the only difference. But they had a lot of stuff going with them too. I mean, I think that what it boils down to is, and we've been talking this since for forever. Every time we go to negotiation meeting back when I was in the union, the GMs and all of them, they some punks. That's what it is. They can't tell a person that you have these rules that you got to abide by. So the whole time we in negotiations, they want us to make the rules for them. That's all. We're like, well, if y'all don't want to pay that somebody, just don't pay them. They're like, yeah, but we don't want to do. I'm like, y'all can't tell y'all somebody that you don't want to pay them this much. You want to pay them this much. You want to be able to say, you know what? We'd love to pay you, but the rules say that we can only pay this much. They some punks.
Well, I think if you really look at it, it gets even deeper than that, Perk. I think you got to go back to David Stern and what he said. He made the league global. So by him making the league global, I mean, the money's got astronomical, and all those guys helped pave the way. But if you really think about it, the money part is probably going to stay the same, because I really thought once COVID hit and them going into negotiation, I thought the owners was going to really stand their ground. And they really didn't. They just signed the same deal again. So that means the money's good. That means that both sides are eating really, really good. So the league is only, once this pandemic is over, we're going to get back to normal. Sponsorship's going to pick back up. So I think that's going to stay the same. I just think every team is different. Perk, you know this. I play for the Miami Heat. Pose know this. There were league rules and there were Heat rules. And that's how, and every team don't run their team like that.
Right.
And that's where it comes down to. If Brooklyn, this is Sean Marks' first time. And you would think from Popovich, he would have learned. But you got to have your team rules too. Like, I love Kyrie. I'm not with players getting fined, but I'll be fining the shit out of them. That's not fair to the guys in the locker room. Y'all know how this go, man. Everybody's on the same page. For what he's doing right now, I'll be fining the shit out of him, and he'll know it'll be public. You don't let guys get away with that type of thing when you run the organization and stuff like that. So they can make the money. Just put the rules in play. Everybody follows the same rules, and we good. I like the fact that money's like that. But guys said, and then back to what you said, James Harden, I don't know what it is. I think these agents, guys need to evaluate their agents, because I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the. I don't even know where we come from now, where the game is not a business first.
Right.
The game is a business first, and we all four of us have been on the back end looking for a job and couldn't get in. And we remember when we fucking was in the prime of our career, we could get anything the fuck we want. So when they got the gun, they do not let up on you. They gonna shoot the shit out you and not pay you. You saw it happen to a lot of great players. Allen Iverson couldn't play no more. Guys that won defense their career. Look at Carmelo Anthony. He had to damn near wait a whole fucking year and a half to get back into the league, man.
Right.
So you got to think about these things. These players don't think about that. So turning down money is still a business first. I don't know what kind of agents is going on right now that they tell these guys they can turn this kind of money down. It's crazy. I don't know what it is, but I mean, maybe they just got enough money now. Shit, maybe they don't need it.
So like when I look at it too, when you talk about the money and you brought it up about Bird, Magic, and Jordan having the money. When you say that, I compare that also to the maturity. Like you think it was grown men back in the day, so it was different. They were mature and it was about business and feeding their family and things like that. Now you have younger talent, younger kids now with all this money, and so shit, they really don't know how to act. It's their first bag, and so now they think with the bag comes more power, so they don't know how to handle it for the most part, and so now they feel like they could do whatever they want. And the back what Etan said, like some of the owners in situations, they like, shit, why give that kid that money? Really, I want you to get the money, but if it's certain rules that come with it. So I think with the bag comes a certain rule, like you said, like Twan said, down in Miami, it was the league rules and it was the Heat rules at the end of the day. So I think that should go on more so. And when you talk about these players and James Harden, and we brought up Kyrie, the effect that they have on their teammates, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like I seen the interview with Cousins, talk about the disrespect started, with James Harden in training camp and stuff like that. So what y'all think about that? That's as if that's your teammate, how you feeling? Like he's not even in it trying to win nothing. He's selfish at the end of the day. And it's just a bad look for your teammates that you know what I'm saying? Like to say that about them and just say one, they can't win. And also to do what you want to do as as you know, as you, because you the man. Like, I just feel a certain type way about that.
It's only a couple guys that's in that category, and I like Harden. I think Harden's a great scorer, one of the top scorers to ever play the game. But guys don't look at him like LeBron James. Guys don't look at him like KD. You know what I mean? Guys respect him because of the body of work he's done. But he hasn't won the championship. He hasn't been in the Western Conference Finals. He hasn't been in the finals grinding right there at the moment. He hasn't been a good playoff player. So you think of Cousins, a guy who's, you know, already bitter because he's had some unfortunate bad luck. You think John Wall, who's bitter, who still got a bag, who's made close to $300 million playing. You think he's studying James Harden if he don't want to play with him? You got to think about those guys. And then what about the guys that's been in there sweating and tears with you, the PJ Tuckers of the world, the Eric Gordons, those guys that's been there with you every step of the way trying to win? How you think they feel that you don't want to come back and play with them?
Right. So do they say something? Like, at what point did the teammates say something about it? You know what I'm saying?
Man, it happened last night. That's why they knew they had to make the move. We wasn't there, but you saw Cousins come out. I guarantee you that thing went down in the locker room last night.
But no, it didn't go down in the locker room because James did it after he left out of the locker room and went home.
Okay.
So that went back to my previous point that this is why if they wouldn't have made the trade, he couldn't come back into the practice facility or nothing. Like they said, stay home, because if you walk into the locker room, a real motherfucker go tell you something. Hey, man, say, man, all that slick talking and trying to talk down because we ain't hearing that. Next thing you know, we hearing about some motherfuckers getting them paws put on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Cousins would put it too.
Yeah, I just keep going back to how, you know, I don't think this generation is any different than the one before that. I really don't. Like, when you can get away with it, you get away with it. I played with guys and they got away with murder. You know what I mean? There's different rules for them. Like, we all knew it. They would do what they wanted to do. And it was all good as long as we were winning. Now, once we start losing, then it's different. But when you win it, man, they put up with anything. And that's on them. They can't get mad at Harden. I said this at the beginning when they was talking about Harden was being late for practice and Harden was doing this and Harden was doing that. I'm like, y'all mad at the wrong people. What about the GM, the people in charge? That's their fault. You know what I mean? If you got we got kids, if you let your kid do whatever they want to do and have no rules and they act a fool, whose fault is that? That's your fault for letting them do whatever they want to do. I mean, that's how I look at it. You know, these GMs, and they got to be held accountable, man. They some punks, man. That's what it is.
I mean, like, just last year, and a lot of people really don't know this, but this is why Russ wanted to bounce. The Rockets didn't want to trade Russ. He requested a trade because of all the things that was transpiring last year. You know, they would say they would play on a Saturday and they wouldn't play again. You know, you had those couple of layoffs when you won't play again till Thursday.
Yeah.
And James was on a private heading to Cabo, on Tim and Fertitta private at that. And Russ like, hold on, man, I ain't come here for all this shit. We used to come, you know, like Russ come from Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a notch under the Miami Heat, if not on the same level for as culture, getting your work in, no shortcuts. So Russ is sitting up here saying, hold on, James, what you doing? Like, I ain't with all this party. I came to the H because we supposed to be on the title chase.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's it. Yeah, you got to hold everybody accountable, man. That's start from up top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that's the way they started off. Like I said, the Rockets trade James Harden. All right. So moving on, we're gonna get into this West. We're gonna start off with these Sacramento Kings. You know what I'm saying? Currently, right now, they 5-6 right here, coached by Luke Walton. You got De'Aaron Fox, you got Buddy Hield, and you got Marvin Bagley with this young group, this young core right here, which y'all see for them in this West. We know that West is tough, but what y'all see these boys doing? I mean, pulling up the rear. They making any progress? What y'all got?
And let me ask y'all something real quick. What happened with the thing with Bagley and with his dad, and then one requested a trade in the public, and then, you know what I mean? I'm glad my mama didn't have no social media when I was playing. I'm like, man, mama, you got to chill out and stay off social media. That's what I would have had to tell him. Don't be giving your opinion.
Like the dad, I think he sent out a tweet talking about they should trade his son or something like that.
Yeah,
And
trade my son, please, and thank you. And when you before he said that, we have to realize the Kings were actually on a winning streak and playing some inspiring basketball. And then all of a sudden the chemistry went down because De'Aaron Fox addressed his old man in the comment like the numbers on the house. You know what I'm saying? So when he addressed it, all of a sudden you started to see Bagley try to do things out of the ordinary. This is why when you look towards the end of the game, now when you're watching the Kings, Bagley is not in the game. They're rolling with Holmes, who's really an underappreciated guy in the league because he does everything you need to do to get wins. I'm high on the Sacramento Kings, to be honest. It's just the consistency, not out of De'Aaron Fox, because he's gotten better every single year. But the guy that you got to look at is Buddy Hield. Like, I can't have 30s or 25-point nights every 5 games. Like, you gotta, like, you know, you get paid $100 million, and I done played with a lot of greats from Twan to everybody, and they didn't put together streaks of 5 to 6 games where they was on a motherfucking tear. So that consistency right there. But I like how they dialed in that rookie Halliburton. I can't pronounce his last name.
Yep,
but
Halliburton. Yeah.
He is a beast. He's very mature. And I like the direction. I like how hard they play. So, you know, at the end of the day, since they are doing the play-in tournament, I could see them possibly being in that 8th, 9th, 10th seed going in for the play-in at the end of the season.
Yeah, I got them at that same spot too, 8th, 9th. I do like what they're building there. Sacramento's one of those spots, and Perk, you wasn't on the first time we talked about the East, and I'll probably say this about several teams. It's not a free agent destination. It ain't like everybody free agents trying to go to Sacramento. So I think what Sacramento's done a good job of is starting to build a core. You know, you signed DeAndre Fox to his extension. Buddy Hield got his money a year ago. Harrison Barnes is on a good deal. And Harrison Barnes is having a comeback year very quietly. He's playing really good basketball this year. So they got some pieces already in play. I think the biggest thing is, can they finish games? That's the difference of them being a 500 team or being 4 or 5 games over 500. And everybody talk about Luke Walton, but you got to remember, Luke Walton is learning too right now how to coach. He coached Kevin Durant. I mean, he coached fucking Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. That ain't really coaching.
See,
anybody could have coached him. So I think he's learning now how to coach and how to put things together. So they are a team that's going to, with that core there, they'll be a consistent playoff team. I'll give them another year once they learn how to close some of these games out. But they are an exciting team. I like watching them play.
Anything, Ty?
No, I mean, that's it. I think they wrapped it up. They're a young team, and you know, they just have to grow. And this little tiff or whatever it is, when you see it spill out on the court, you're gonna have to address it or figure it out. But I mean, they might be. They're young. They just gotta tell their parents to stay on social media. That's all.
But see, I want to add one thing to that, man. And this is a problem that you have. You could have another Jahlil Okafor type situation where, because Bagley, I don't know what, and you're supposed to see the best in your child or whatever, but you also supposed to be honest with your child. And he could possibly ruin his career, because nowadays it's not like he's a guy that can't be replaced. He's not like he's a guy that's a generational talent. So at the end of the day, Pops, Coach Bagley, if that's what they call him on Twitter, you got to fall back, man, before your son be on vet minimums for the rest of his career instead of getting the big bag. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Teams don't want to deal with it.
Now, how does that work when y'all see family members of other players, significant others, et cetera, make comments like that, like trade me or such and such shouldn't play or this needs more minutes? How do y'all feel about that as players?
It ain't never happened with us. I mean, we ain't have social media. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't even really remember seeing that in the papers too much. It's a different generation.
Yeah, I just think it's just different now. It's something that you can't control. I mean, everybody got the freedom of speech, especially now with the social media. So you got, I mean, hopefully those are things that you could take care of internally. You try to take care of day one of training camp, especially now something you got to be addressed, that we try to keep, you know, the family and everybody out of what's going on. But that's hard to do. I mean, that player is probably more embarrassed than anybody because you got to go around the guys. Yeah, he got to go around the guys and still try to be a teammate. So it still come down, you know, the guys, whoever parent that is, just embarrassing them.
But see, that's why I feel bad, and I feel like the Players Association be messing up to a certain extent, because you have 4 former players just right now talking basketball, right? Talking about, you know, how I experienced and what we see was going on. How about, you know, saying, you know what? Hey, Etan, hey, Posey, hey, Twan, hey, Perk, let's put together a mentorship program where y'all go in and y'all be able to weed it out, because that's what they be needing, man. Like, you know, some of these guys need that and say, hey, man, you know what? Let me call Pops. Let me call Pops for you and tell him, hey, Pops, look, you gonna get everything you deserve, man. Just be mom and dad. Don't try to be an agent. Don't try to be nothing that you could be. Just be mom and dad and let the man play basketball. Like, that's what's missing, to be honest.
That's a great point. It's a great idea.
That's real. That's real. But we're going to go ahead and move it along to our next team that we're going to cover out west, the Oklahoma City Thunder. As we all know, they made a lot of moves in the offseason. They got more picks, playing a lot of young guys, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Going to start with Etan on this one. Thoughts on the OKC Thunder going into this season and going throughout the rest of the season?
I mean, I think they're young. You know, their plan is to build for the future, obviously. You know, I think they got a lot of draft picks coming up here for the next few years, and they got to see what they do with that. You know, if Perk, you could talk to this probably too, though. I mean, if they would have kept them cats all together, I mean, I don't want to bring up old stuff, but they had something special. And you see, most of them are going to be now with Brooklyn, but if they kept that crew together, they would have won at least one championship. I give them at least one. I don't know how many they would have won, but they would have won at least one. So that got to be burning them up inside every time they see, you know what I mean, how well they did after they left. I don't know. What do you think about that, Perk?
Well, to be honest, first I'm gonna say you absolutely right about the young core. You know, I'm a big fan of Basley, that's over there. I feel like the sky's the limit. Him and SGA is gonna make a lot of noise for the years to come. But to your point, I was there in the thick of things, okay? And the same outside noise that we were just talking about is what happened. When I got traded from the Celtics, right, and went to Oklahoma City, I'm 26. I was 26 at the time. You gotta understand, Russ was 21. James was 21. KD probably was 22. Serge Ibaka was 20. So it's not like guys, they still were trying to accomplish everything individually that they needed to accomplish also, along with getting paid. So what ended up happening was that we started having success. So I started preaching what I learned from the Boston days: no agendas, man. Let's go out here play together, right? So as soon as the All-Star break was over, I couldn't wait, because I'm like, look, we ain't got nothing else to play for but to try to win the title. They were so skilled and so much talent that they were able to reach those heights and go to Western Conference Finals and even reach the finals. But the same shit was going on. It was so much bickering going on, where it was like family members wasn't talking to family members in a family room. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about two superstars. Superstars, the two head of the snakes, they families beefing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, cool. And then when James came along, I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, the only thing that was on James' mind, man, at that time was he kept telling me, Perk, I'm going to get the max. I want the max. And so what happened was, the reason the team broke up and James decided to leave or forced the trade was because when they all went down to the Olympics, Russ, KD, and James, you know, you had guys like Braun, Kobe, all those guys telling James, man, you need your own team, and rightfully so. Because if they wouldn't have never broken up, and you wouldn't have never saw James on the Rockets, we wouldn't have never seen James being able to play to this capacity, because he would always been in the shadows of Russ and KD.
No, you're right.
Now,
You're right.
well, this group obviously is young, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm not betting against Sam Presti. I mean, he picked Westbrook, he picked KD, he picked James Harden, so he know how to build a team. And like Perk said, that organization, Nazi, I think is the GM now, but that's one of my best friends, and so I know about the organization really well. I'm always talking to them about it. I mean, they do everything first class. They're gonna put the work in. Having them draft picks is for a reason. They're gonna be able to move them draft picks, and they ain't gonna pick all players too. They're gonna sign some players, make some moves, and figure out who fits into their system. So they overachieving right now. They just playing hard, and this comes from the discipline of them just getting in the gym every day and putting the work in. And I think that's why they even competing right now at the level that they're competing at right now. I think they 500, maybe even one game under 500. I don't have it in front of me, but they're playing good basketball right now.
5-5. They're 5-5.
Yeah, they're playing good basketball. Nobody expected that from them. Shea, they got a great point guard, Shea Alexander, who's playing great. But I believe that they're going to be. People may think it's going to take a couple years. I would say by next year they'll be competing for the 8-7 spot. I don't know if they can keep it up all year long, but I ain't worried about it. So that's one team you don't got to worry about. Sam Presti had them back in the mix before you know it.
Mm-hmm. So they got rid of CP. He's not there, and then Dennis Schroeder not there too. So now it's more opportunity for those young guys to step up. You know what I'm saying? Those guys left a good imprint on him, taught him a lot about the game, especially CP being, the leader that he is and at that position right there. So it should be big things expected from Shea. So hopefully, he has his opportunity now. He learned a lot, so he can lead them in the right direction and get to the playoffs, at least in the bidding games or whatever it may be.
Oh yeah.
Next, we're gonna go with these Minnesota Timberwolves. Right now, they 3-7. 3-7. They got the number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards. Then you got Big Cat over there, and then you got D'Angelo Russell, the guard. What y'all feel about them? Is it just gonna be a struggle? How you think young fella gonna do in his rookie year? Is he gonna get Rookie of the Year?
I like him. I mean, I think he's nice. I mean, he's going to go through his growing pains and things of that nature, but I like when I see rookies, and y'all can tell me what y'all think, but I like when I see rookies be able to get their feet wet in the league and just play and grow. You know what I mean? I think sometimes, when situations happen, trades happen, teams move up, and you have a rookie in a situation that they're not ready to deal with, it stifles their progression. You know what I mean? So I think he's just going to really be able to just play free. And you're going to see him get better. Now, how good are they going to be? I'm not sure. And I feel for Cat. You know what I mean? If there's anybody I think maybe needs a timeout, you know what I mean? The mental break, right. All of that stuff is him. Mm-hmm. Like every time I see, you root for guys. And he's a good dude. And to see what happened and how many of his family that he lost to COVID and everything like that happened, you saw him before the game breaking down that one time earlier in the season. And I mean, you just felt for him, man. So I don't know, man. I think sometimes the league, I don't know how you're going to give somebody a pause, but obviously there's certain situations where you got to give somebody a minute. You know what I mean? What do y'all think about that, honestly? Because I think as a president or a GM of a team, you should see that and tell him to take a minute.
I mean, he's breaking down every single time on the bench pre-game, man. Like, the man's soul is hurt, you know what I'm saying? And he's battling through it. I'm not a huge fan of D'Angelo Russell at all. I think the pace that he plays at with that slow pace and all that, it's only gonna get off so many times. He's not that great on the defensive end. He's lackadaisical. But Anthony Edwards, right? He is a young stud, and this is the problem that I have is the front office of Minnesota, okay? And you sign Malik Beasley to whatever, $60-something million, but you draft the number 1 overall pick. He should be starting off the muscle. I always say he has the mind, and to me, he plays a little bit like early Dion Waiters, but he has the athleticism of a Russell Westbrook. and it's going to take time. But I feel like he's going to be an all-star in the near future for a lot of years to come. I'm just looking at this Minnesota team, and to be honest, I love Ryan Saunders as a person. I just don't know if he's the coach to demand and get everything he need out of those players to take them to a winning level. Because they look at him as a friend. They look at him as a friend and not actually as a coach. And you can't have that.
Yeah. I think if you look at the successful years of Minnesota, which I think is a great point you talked about that, Perk, I think they should make him a part of the organization, whether he's assistant coach, whether he's a player development guy. And I know they have a utmost respect for for Flip and want to make sure they do right by the family. But the successes they had that we saw the last couple of years prior to that was when they had a dominant coach in Tibbs.
Yeah.
When they had a real coach, Cat was playing at a very high level, which he still is. Obviously, the personnel is much different when they had Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose and some other guys. But I think they do got some good young pieces. I think Anthony Edwards, I think, Cat, Russell on 50-50 on. I mean, he made the All-Star team. So I got to feel like he's got some potential in there to be a really, really good player. So you got to figure he's got something left. They're going to have to continue to put some veterans with them, mix it up a little bit. They did a good job of that a couple years ago. They can get back to that. It's another spot that's not a free agent spot. Nobody want to go up there to that cold-ass Minnesota and play. It's freezing up there, so a lot of players don't want to go up there. But I think they're ways away. They're not a playoff team. The West is too tough right now, so they're going to have to continue to add. And what Cat is going through personally, I don't know if he'll ever lock in, at least not this season. Not while the pandemic is going on. Every time he turns on the TV, he's hearing about COVID cases, and he's seeing this every day. Until that dies down, he's able to get past that. And I haven't lost I couldn't imagine losing my mom, so I can't even comment on that and what he's going through. But it'll probably be a while before he gets back to being himself and putting 110% effort into basketball. But I'm not a big fan of the Timberwolves right now. I think they're a ways away from getting back to going where they need to be.
Oh, that's real. And that's real. Now, quick question for y'all before we move on to our next team. Where do you think Cat ends up at? Because we know how these max guys end up going. A couple losing seasons in a city that's not really desirable. Next thing you know, you start hearing chatter. Next thing you know, you see rumors, and next thing you know, they get moved. Do y'all see Cat either asking out or getting moved anytime soon, or do you think he stays the course of Minnesota?
Well, you got to remember this. I'm going to say this. The guys like him, especially in that went to University of Kentucky, think about the New York Knicks. You got to think about West's relationship with Calipari. They got my man Kenny Payne over there on the bench. Kenny Payne recruited probably 95% of all those guys to Kentucky. So when those type of guys come up, that's got that Kentucky connection or something like that, that's a big spot. That's lurking for a superstar. So I always remember that the Knicks is one of those destination spots for a young superstar to go to.
I know you say that, but they always talk about the owner Dolan or whatever. You think players could just forget that and still give New York that chance? I mean, because you just heard it check every free agency. No big stars want to go there, but you think a younger star would take that bait and go there?
Yeah, because they're gonna West and those guys. That's where they come in at.
Yeah.
To be able to take them through that. That's where they come in at.
So I would go back to what Etan's point was, and that's the COVID case, right? I mean, his mom and dad was in that arena for majority of the game. So you know what I'm saying? Every time he probably walking into that arena, he's thinking of his mom. So it may come a point where he's like, you know what? I need to change the scenery. And just because of that particular situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Great point.
It is. It is.
Great point. Now we're going to go ahead and move it down south a little bit from Minnesota. Going to go with the Pelicans. The Pelicans, as you all know, had some changes over the offseason as well. Of course, they're led by Zion, Brandon Ingram, who's an all-star last year. Still have Lonzo Ball, added Eric Bledsoe, and of course, Steven Adams, amongst many others. Where do y'all think they fit out west? Because there's some expectations on them, but they really haven't delivered to those expectations thus far. What are y'all thoughts on? I'm gonna start with Perk on this one.
Well, I didn't have him. I usually do my preseason top 8 in the East, top 8 in the West, and I didn't have the Pelicans in there for the simple fact that I feel like they're still trying to find their identity, still trying to find who is the ball going to go through. Right now, down the stretch is going through Brandon Ingram, and is it going to be Zion team? What position is he? And watching some of their games, it's about 3 or 4 times that I've seen personally that Stan Van Gundy has came to to an interview and said that one was on me. Well, how many times you go keep saying that, and you have a young club that you got hired because you supposed to be able to put them in position to be successful. So right now, I'm not high on them. Lonzo Ball, man, I don't know what he is. Like, you went number 2. Are you going to be an all-star, or are you going to be a role player? Like, right now, he's playing like a guy that should be coming in off the bench as a backup point guard. So, like, when are you going to take that leap, right? JJ Redick is getting older. He's not going to continue to want to be in that stage where he's barely making the playoffs, not making the playoffs, harping on next year. He's going to want to be on the contender. So I'm just thinking in my head, at what point are they going to figure out who they are and their identity, because they don't have one yet.
I think this is a different year for them. Me and Pose had a little small stint when we played for Stan Van Gundy, 20 games, and had training camp with him. We know how demanding Stan is, and we know they're going to work hard. I guarantee you Zion has probably never worked as hard as he's working right now. And he's off to a pretty good start to the season as well. I like their personnel, and it comes down to who's going to be humble enough to take a role. Does Ingram feel like because he was the all-star and they gave him the big deal as his team? Are you going to build around Zion? Because you got some good role players on that team already. JJ Redick's going to do his job. Steven Adams is going to do his job. You don't have to worry about those guys. They should be a playoff team, but I think that that play-in situation works for New Orleans. I think they'll be one of those teams fighting that play-in situation as they try to figure it out. I think they're going to hover around 500 all season long. But I like what they started. I think they're in a good space. They got some good young talent already in place, and they just got to continue to add solid veterans around them to get them over hump to become a really, really 4 or 5 seed in the Western Conference. So I like where they're headed. And I just know Stan is going to be, he comes from that, he's going to work them. And I know Zion is going to put the work in now off the court. That was a little questionable under Alvin Gentry, whether he's going to be able to do that with him. But I know with Stan, he's going to force that out of him.
I like Ingram, man. I think last year was, he was really coming. I mean, once he left the legacy he got there, he was showing his, his scoring ability, being able to make clutch shots and things like that. And I think he just got paid this summer also. So I think he's one of their key guys. Now, with Zion coming in, we know last year they was talking about, his weight and, basically like load management, you know what I'm saying? So does that change for him this year? Should his minutes increase, or how you think they're going to play his minutes, and if that's going to affect how they, how successful they are this year?
Man, if you're 20 years old and got load management, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, they had Drew Holiday last year too. He was solid, and that was big time for him as well. So, with him not being there now, like you said, Perk, now you got Ball. What is he gonna do? Is he gonna step up and be that caliber of player that leads that team as that point guard, and what he's gonna do? So I think that was a key loss for him as well, for those two guys, Ingram and Zion coming up in it.
I mean, if Zion keeps his weight down a little bit and stays healthy, man, that cat, I'm like, I worry about his weight and his health. Two things. But if he keeps those straight, man, he can be special.
Well, he plays above the rim. So, I mean, when you play above the rim, it's a lot on your knees. He'll understand that, the wear and tear that takes place. So that's what you worry about the minutes. But if he's 20 years old, he can't give me 35 minutes a night, then we got a problem. I shouldn't be worried about resting him. He should be able to give me 35 minutes a night.
And he's not doing that right now. So that's
no.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from them Pelicans, we're gonna go to those Phoenix Suns out there. They 7-4. You got Coach Monty Williams out there. They got a new addition and Chris Paul out there, a veteran point guard, great leadership. You got Devin Booker, coming into his own out there with the Suns. Do y'all feel they make the playoffs? Is it the 7-8 or they go a little deeper for that West in the playoffs?
I mean, they look impressive right now. I don't know if I could count them to make the playoffs, but I saw Chris Paul lead the Thunder to the playoffs, so it could happen. And I'm a big Chris Paul fan of the way that he runs the team. And I got my AAU team, and I have my point guard studying Chris Paul. And I'm like, that's the way you get everybody involved. That's how a way that you put everybody in their positions, and you know what I mean, where you run the offense. So when you have a true point guard like that, things can happen. Would I count on them making the playoffs? No, but like I said, I can't count them out because of the way Chris Paul runs the team.
Well, I feel like this. Last year, I picked OKC as my sleeper to make the playoffs because of Chris Paul. And I feel like Phoenix will finish a top 5 team in the Western Conference because now when you look at the makeup of their team, Devin Booker is one of those guys who reminds you of a Kobe Bryant, the way that he's able to get buckets, right? Like just, his footwork, his mid-range, and he got a tenacity about himself. The guy that's going to elevate his game this season, and he's slowly coming into that, is DeAndre Ayton, because Chris Paul is going to have that same effect that he had on DeAndre Jordan, on DeAndre Ayton in my eyes. But you have to look at the others. I thought Jay Crowder was a huge pickup for them. Yes. You look at the 2 young studs that they have in Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson. Cam Johnson is shooting the lights out of the damn basketball, but I didn't know both of those guys could defend the way they defend, and they play with an edge. Because when Phoenix gave up Kelly Oubre, I'm like, hold on, what y'all doing? But it was to make room for them. So right. I'm looking at it. Now another guy, Cameron Payne, who's getting the opportunity at the backup point guard position. And then again, they have bought in. So that sample size that I witnessed last year in the bubble, when they went down there in the bubble and they did what they did, that mean to tell me that they're bought into Monty Williams and what he got going on. Chris Paul is always going to have them in position to win a basketball game. And they actually have 2 closers, because Chris Paul could close out games and you could put the ball in Devin Booker's hand and he could close out games. So I have them finishing top 5 in the West, because right now I think they may be top 10 defensively, and it's not far off from from the number 5 spot to the top 10 spot defensively is not a wide gap. So they could arguably finish top 5 in the league defensively, and that's great to say they have a young ball club.
Yeah, I love this team. I got them anywhere between top 5, top 16. Chris Paul gets you over that hump because he can close games. He's going to make the right decision. He's going to make sure the right person gets the ball. And let's not forget, man, prior to Monty Williams going through his tragedy with his wife, he was one of the best young coaches in the league. You got to think he took that New Orleans team to the playoffs, and I just remember how much respect Anthony Davis had for him, and that's probably one of the reasons Anthony Davis probably ended up ever leaving New Orleans. If they could have kept Monty as the coach, he'd probably still be in New Orleans, but that's a whole nother story. But Monty Williams is one of the better young coaches in this league. Chris Paul gives them that edge, that toughness. Devin Booker, I say he got a swag to him. I just say he's got a competitive swag to him. And, that's hard to find in young players like that, but he wants to win. Chris Paul will get them in situations where it's about winning, take the individualism out of it. And if they want to get to the next level, especially Devin Booker as a superstar in this league, which I believe he wants to. Chris Paul's going to get him in his head that you got to win, and you got to win at a high level. So I like Phoenix. Phoenix is a prize team, and Phoenix is one of those teams I would not want to play in the playoffs. If I'm a top 4 team in the West, I don't want to play the Phoenix Suns. But I like where they're headed at. They're definitely a top 5-6 team in the Western Conference, easy.
Just remember, OKC finished number 5 in the West last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But you said it, Perk. The biggest thing, and I'm a huge fan, and I think that's why Miami Heat made a big mistake, is letting Jay Crowder go. I don't know what people didn't see or what Pat Riley didn't see in Jay Crowder and what he brought to their team, but that was a huge pickup to get a guy like that who can make the 3, he can defend the 3, 4, and the 5 if necessary, and sometimes. So, I think he's huge for them, and that was a great late pickup for them.
Now, we can't talk about the Suns and not mention DeAndre Ayton's name. What's needed for him to take that next step, for the Suns to take that next step?
It's Chris Paul. It's Chris Paul. And you have Mark Bryant over there, who I believe is one of the best big man coaches in the game today, who don't get enough recognition, right? And he holds them accountable. We all know that DeAndre Ayton could shoot the 15-footer. We know he's a live guy. But what I'm watching him do of late, he's starting to have nuts, like, and that's in a good way, meaning he's starting to show a little tenacity. He's anchoring the defense. So I know this is that Chris Paul effect, holding him accountable. Hey, big fella, you supposed to be up on this screen, or you supposed to be boxing out, or whatever the case may be. You can hear times where guys are going to lay the ball up, and you hear Chris Paul yelling, "Go block it!" Like that's like you need that. You need that.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's good. The tough is, and I know we on this panel with 2 big, with 2 centers, but the game is different now, man. It's tough. It's tough for the centers now. I'm serious. Like, it's different. He's a traditional true center.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a little tougher for the traditional true centers. But I think, in case in point to what you guys are saying, I think, Chris Paul is going to make him make him a big part of what they're doing. And if he's able to rebound and play defense, he's going to get opportunities to score the ball. You're going to get you 2-3 lobs a game. He'll get his touches. But if he's able to get in his mind like DeAndre Jordan did, those years with Chris Paul, did he lead the league in rebounding every year?
Right.
He was up.
He was up there. He either led the league in rebounding and block shots. If he gets that mentality, if Chris can get that in his head, sky's the limit how good he can be. So I definitely did believe that he can definitely be one of those, definitely top 3-4 centers in the league, easy. That game has changed. We saw how Dwight Howard dominated last year, and Dwight was 16, 17 years in. So you know that can happen.
I agree. Big men still don't get no love. It just is what it is.
But no, we're going to move it along a little bit. Utah Jazz, they have 2 young guys that they've given a lot of money to. They also have a new owner. They have a pretty good team, but not a contender just yet. What do y'all think about the Jazz? Where do y'all see them going? And are they legit or are they a pretender? Go ahead, Perk. I want to hear your response first. I know you got some opinions about Gobert.
You know what? I do. I feel like he gets it done. He's 7'4". Hell, you're supposed to get 13 rebounds, all right? But it's a physicality that he be lacking, especially when he have to go against other centers. I watched Capella too many times dominate him in the Utah Jazz and Houston Rockets series. We just watched Jared Allen put that man in the basket so many times. I think finished with 19 and 18. But here's the problem I have with the Jazz. Last year, I jumped out on a limb and I picked them as my dark horse contender because I'm like, if you look at their team, they're not missing anything, right? So you have Mike Conley, you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Bogdanovich, you have
Jordan Clarkson,
O'Neal, Clarkson, Ingles, Gobert. Derek Favors.
But Donovan.
What are you missing? Like, okay, you got shoot, you got point guard, you got a guy that can go for 50, you got your defensive player of the year. Why in the hell are y'all not getting over the hump? I just don't get it. And the reason being is that they soft. So no, I can't believe in them.
They what part? They what part?
They soft, man.
He made some good points. They definitely do have all the pieces. Let me ask y'all, what was the thing with Gobert and Shaq? Like, why help me out, y'all? Why did it seem like Shaq always be going to big men? You know what I mean? It's usually like a fraternity. It's usually like a big man love. Like you usually cheer for other big men. It's different with him, like with Dwight, with JaVale, with Rudy. I'm like, what? Help me out. I want to know, Perk. Help me out. What do you think? What do you think that is?
Shaq just said that basically, like, if getting you 12 points and 10 rebounds can get you 200 plus million, that's what Shaq kind of attacked him on, was what he got paid. Like,
but why? Why attack another man getting paid like that? Why? I mean, I'm happy for him because big men don't get no love. I'm like, okay, so now maybe big men, y'all see the big men are important to the game after he get paid. That's how I'm thinking. So I'm just like, why?
I don't even know, man. Shaq doing so much. I be wondering what the hell, talk about the game, but he always got to, like, that Instagram post he posted to Gobert, it had nothing to do with
right.
It was just him doing it on his own and just smoking up.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, Utah did the right thing. I mean, and granted, you don't think Rudy Gobert better make 20 million, but you think about it, nobody's going to play in Utah, man. Nobody's going to play in Utah. Rudy Gobert's had some very successful years. And Utah team built to me to win 50 plus games season. They're going to be very competitive. In the playoffs, it's all going to be about matchups, depending on who they play. Some teams they match up really well with, and some teams they just don't. And that's going to be the nature of it. It's unfortunate, but they're going to have very successful years. Right. They got a young core. They'll be good for the next couple years. Are they going to be able to get over that hump and be able to be successful and make a deep run to playoffs? I don't think so. But I do have them as a top 4 or 5 team in the West.
Now, Twan, why aren't guys going to Utah? Like, what's the issue with Utah?
Well, I just think, that's not a place for African Americans really to be cool and have a good time.
We know why.
I want to go get me a nice meal sometimes, man. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all been to a good restaurant in Utah?
No.
Utah might be it's hard to get an import to come to Utah. God damn. It's hard to import Utah.
Yeah, funny.
They turning you down like, nah, I ain't coming out there. You gotta give them a motor. They ain't even coming out there, man. Hey, I'm gonna leave that alone. I know you guys married. I just had
No, you can't leave that alone. No, so is that the worst city to plan in? Like, is that the worst city in the league, or is there others?
That might be the worst.
That might be the worst.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Ain't no question.
The work turn you down, boy. Hey, you know that's terrible.
When the work turn you down, man, you know it's bad.
That's funny. Y'all silly.
Y'all know that work turn you down to Utah. You like, what? They be like, what? Nah, I ain't gonna make it out there.
They ain't gonna make it.
They ain't going out there, baby. It's bad out there, baby.
We gonna move on from them. Now we got the Portland Trail Blazers. You got Dame Dollar Dad, you know what I'm saying, holding the fort down. CJ out there, that Tanner right there, unguardable. They put up numbers. You got Carmelo out there too that had a great season last year. What is this team missing at the end of the day, and what do y'all see them doing?
Man, I'm gonna say this. I like them too. Go ahead. You go first. Go ahead.
I mean, I like them. I'm wondering. Every year I'm like, okay, is this the year? Is this the time? Dame Dollar keeps getting better and better. CJ doing work. I like what they have. So sometimes the West is tough. I mean, that's just what it is. They always run it up on some good teams. They play them well. They just can't get over the hump. And I felt bad for Dame because they looked good that round against the Lakers, and then they all started getting hurt. You know what I mean? Then Dame got hurt, and you knew it was over. But the way he played and the heart that he played with, and just his style, I respect it. It's just the West is tough. That's it.
Man, look, I love the Portland Trail Blazers, but this might be my last year, and this might be it, man. It's time. Now, I like what they did, and they had to address it. They went and got 2 wings. Because obviously, if you think about out West, you got to go through the Lakers. So I know what they're thinking. They had Melo trying to guard LeBron above. I'm not saying Melo's incapable of guarding him, but you ask him to guard him for 35, 40 minutes. That's tough for Melo at this stage in his career. But the flip side to that, you go get Derrick Jones Jr. and you go get Rob Covington. So you go get you 2 wings that can guard, that you can throw bodies at LeBron. We know how this goes. Why Denver was so successful is because Jared Grant. They had somebody long who was athletic, who could challenge shots and make things a little difficult for LeBron. And that's what Portland's done. So all the excuses now are out the window. If they come in healthy in the playoffs, it's time for them to get over the hump. If we're saying CJ and Damon are these guards, they got to get over the hump. I mean, you got to get over that one time. You got Melo coming off the bench. You got Gary Trent Jr., who's shooting the heck out the basketball. They got everything. They got a legitimate center. So if they stay healthy, I mean, sky's the limit how far they can go. We have no more excuses for Portland. It's time for them to get it done. And they have enough wings now to throw at LeBron James, who they're going to have to go through.
I agree. I just feel like to that point, they don't have anybody really to stop Anthony Davis. Like Big Nurkic ain't gonna get it done. And then when you look at Big Canner, he's probably the worst defensive big in the league. They're missing Zach Collins. But I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Portland pull together and make it to the finals. I don't really have a big problem with their team. I love their backcourt. I love Melo. I love what Robert Covington brings to the table. Gary Trent Jr. is not only just a shooter, though, Tron. He brings a lot on the other end, taking charges, getting into you defensively, and stuff like that. My problem is how many opportunities is Terry Stotts going to get? That's my – because I'm watching them, and it's
that might be different.
Yeah, I'm watching them, and I'm like, why are you making this sub? Like, why are you taking Gary Trent Jr. out? He got 21 off the bench. Like, let him close out the 4. So what if you got to go CJ Dame and Gary Trent Jr. as a three-guard small, for us with that area on the defensive end, and some of his substitutions are really, really questionable to me. And like, it's time for him to get a real evaluation. Because, to truth be told, not trying to make it into a race thing, but if it was any other African-American coach that really hadn't succeeded like Portland, we expect Portland to succeed, man, they would have been long gone. Like, everybody was all hyped, man, yeah, Portland came back, they done got the play in, they done got the AC, now they play. Like, what are we talking about? They weren't even supposed to be an AC. You see what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? It was a team we had predicted that went to the Western Conference Finals the year before, that they should have been in the top 5. Why are they even in the play-in?
True.
No, you're right.
No, that's true.
And nobody looks at Terry Stotts, and that bothers me.
Yeah, they get a little.
They probably gonna start now,
sometimes.
Humpert.
Yeah.
Straight up.
The expectations is very high, but for him right now.
So do y'all think it's the last year of this duo of CJ and Dame up there? Because like y'all mentioned, they've had a lot of goes at it. Hasn't been as promising as it probably should have been. Do you think this is the last go around before they move one of them, probably CJ, or do y'all think they have a little more time?
I think this is it. They gotta make noise. Somebody gonna move, and it's probably gonna be CJ.
Okay. All right.
What's making noise for them though? Real quick before we go, what's making noise for them? What's the barometer?
Western Conference Finals. If you lose to the Lakers, and depending on how you lose to the Lakers, you go into a deep series with the Lakers, 6-7 games. I think people will respect that. You know, but I think you definitely nothing short of Western Conference Finals.
I can roll with that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move it along. Take a little south down to San Francisco now. You playing Oakland, but San Francisco now for the Golden State Warriors. We know that run is now over. They're going to a different direction as a team. There's now just trying to make the playoffs with Steph, Draymond, got Wiggins, Wiseman, and a lot of unfamiliar faces. What do y'all think about the rest of the season for them? Do you think they can make the playoffs, or do you think that they're going to be right there between the 8 and 10 range?
For me, if Golden State stays healthy, they're going to make the playoffs. Draymond Green is going to have to stay healthy throughout the season. They need him just for intangibles, leadership. He's not going to show up in the stat category. You know, he's going to do a lot of the little things that may not show up, whether it's leading the guys, getting them in the right spots, getting Steph good shots, setting good screens. It's all the little things, and he has to stay healthy for him. It looks like Steph is coming along and getting his shooting touch back now after being out a while. Andrew Wiggins seems like he's fitting into the system really well. And I'm not worried about it. I'm a big fan. I don't know how you guys feel about Kelly Oubre. I still think he's going to come around. I think that guy can be a terrific talent. I think he'll get back there. And it looks like they hit a home run with the draft pick and Wiseman. It looks like Wiseman is worthy of that second pick in the draft, and it's going to be great for him. But I do got Golden State making the playoffs at a 7-8 seed. But they have to stay healthy. They can't afford any injuries with the current roster that they got in place right now.
I like what I see out of Wiseman. I liked him when he was with Penny. You know, even before he got suspended and that whole ordeal. But I've been following him for a while. That cat can play. I think he's going to get better. I like his attitude. I like his approach to the game. I'm glad to see Wiggins, you know, playing well. You know, he's got a lot of criticism, so I'm glad to see him doing well. I think Oubre will be fine. I mean, the Golden State culture is shooting threes. So I thought he got seduced to that a little bit more when that's not really his strength. I think he can shoot threes. I think he can shoot, but, you know, I think he was relying on it a little bit too much. You know, I don't know, a little bit too much. But I think they'll be all right. You know, and Steph, that game, who they playing against when he had like 60-something, it was incredible. Who was that? That was 40. Yeah. That was incredible. And I love the timing of it just because it was right after he was taking a lot of criticism. And, you know, then he just answered it all. I was enjoying. I really, you know, feel bad for Clay, you know, for his injury, and seeing him get re-injured. He's another one of those guys that you just root for, you know, and he was coming back from his injury, then to get injured again, you know, it's like, so I'm rooting for him.
You know, so I'm looking. Go ahead, Pose.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Pose.
No, I was about to say, you know, with that, you know, you talk about the MVP race, you know what I'm saying? Is Steph, is he going to be in that? You know, is he going to play? Is he going to have to continue playing above his head, you know what I'm saying, to be that MVP and carry that team?
But he's not playing above his head. Steph averaging 30 plus is not playing above his head. You know what I'm saying? He could do that. And when I look at the makeup of this Warriors team, the first thing that I look at is Ron Adams on that bench and the culture that Draymond Green brings. And people take this out of content when I say it, but Draymond Green is the heart and soul of the team. You don't have to be the best player of the ball club to be the heart and soul of the team. People don't realize that. He gives them swagger, right? He gives Steph swagger. Steph's swag go through a million once Draymond Green got back. I actually got Wiseman picked to win Rookie of the Year. I feel like he's ready. Although he got suspended, he still probably was working out with Penny and Mike Miller, so he knows the professional. He knows how to work out with for his NBA sets. But when I look at Andrew Wiggins, right now he ranks third defensively in a lot of categories defensively. because of the culture. He's averaging right around 15, 16 points because of the culture. And for the first time, he don't have to be the number one pick. So there's no pressure on him. So I'm looking at him like, man, if Klay, I'm just looking at it, if Klay was back, all Andrew Wiggins would have to be was a Harrison Barnes 2.0, right? But since he's gone, now he has to pick up his scoring a little bit, but the Warriors are still someone you don't want to see. You got Brad Wanamaker, who I feel like is overseas. He's 31 years old. He's a grown man out there. I watched him go to war when he was in Boston, just a straight professional and could go with a high IQ. You got Pascal, a guy that could come in and back up Draymond. Looney, a lot of people don't respect Looney. But Looney does a lot of things. He could switch 1 through 5, great finisher around the basket, high IQ. So I'm looking at this Golden State Warrior team, and if Steph could stay healthy, and I'm right with you, Twan, Kelly Oubre will pick it up. But guess what? Guess who's been the unsung hero off the bench that people not even talking about? Ken
Bazemore.
Ken Bazemore. He wasn't playing. But guess what? He stayed engaged. His energy was there. Now he's impacting winning. I just wouldn't count the Golden State Warriors out. I actually got them finished top 6 in the West without Klay. With Klay, I was thinking they going for that number 2 spot.
It's got to stay healthy, though.
Yeah.
That's big, number 2 spot right there. We're going to go back down. You know what I'm saying? We're going to hit this Memphis Grizzly team. You know, they got Ja over there. You know, he's came on last year, played well. You know what I'm saying? They, you know, fell short for the most part, but he is an exciting player. Right now they got him down there. They got Dylan Brooks. They also got the young boy. He's hurt right now, but at full capacity, what do you see this Memphis team doing? The Jackson kid, he's hurt. You know what I'm saying? So when he come back, what do you see with the Memphis team?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna probably let Perk. I watched them a couple times, but once Ja Morant got hurt, I really kind of fell off them as far as watching them as much as I did. I was a big fan of Ja, so I watched them a lot. I still believe they're competitive. I mean, they're a competitive team. I don't have them making the playoffs this year, depending on how long these guys are going to be out. If these guys give you another 3-4 weeks of being out, I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't think they have enough. You know, slow motion, Kyle Anderson, those guys. I mean, I like them, but without Ja Morant, I'm not a big fan of Memphis. But but I do give them credit though. When they're 100% healthy, they are a very competitive group and is a playoff team. But right now, I haven't watched much of them for me to give them a real solid thing. I don't have them making the playoffs though. Now unless those guys come back soon.
Yeah, I don't know if I had them making the playoffs, but like you said, I'm a fan of Ja Morant, so I kind of stopped watching them after Ja got hurt. But you know, and yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't really see them doing too much without Ja in them, so that's I don't have too much to say about them.
I'm a fan of Ja. I thought last year they snuck up on a lot of people. A lot of people wasn't expecting them to play the way they play. I think they have definitely found them a backcourt for the future. And Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is a bucket, and he's feisty on the defensive end. If I'm Memphis, I'm kind of in a tanking mode. And that's hard to say with a winner like Ja Morant, but they got to get better at that wing position. That wing position is so vital and crucial in the league. In the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, it don't matter. You got to find you a wing. When you look at all the great teams or all the contenders or all the top, they have wings. And so I'm looking at them. I don't know how much time Big Jonas Valanciunas got. I like the kid Clark, who also is a young kid that come in off the bench.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, super athletic. So I'm just trying to see if I'm them. I'm reevaluating my team, but I got me a nice core. I got Clark. I got Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant. Now I got to fill in the gaps. but I still believe that they're about 2 years away. I'm not going to doubt Ja, but he still needs those extra pieces.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real. But we're gonna move on to Dallas. They have some expectations coming into this season. Porzingis is coming back. I believe he's gonna be coming back this weekend, if not sooner. Of course, Luka. A lot of MVP hype coming into the season. Tim Hardaway Jr. still there. They got some action. What do y'all think about the Mavs in this season?
I think they look good. I was impressed with them last year. I don't know. I think they're still missing a piece to really get them over the hump. I like Luka a lot. Porzingis is so funny that how much he's grown and the difference to when New York. I have the New York and Brooklyn game on right now, and the way that New York booed him when they first drafted him, and just what he's turned into today. But I like the duo. I like how they play. But I still think they're missing something. Oh yeah, maybe y'all can help me out with that. There's something that they're still missing.
Well, I think what you got to think with the style of play, Luka's going to be your point guard, point forward. It's kind of like he's kind of like a LeBron James for that team. The way he handles the basketball, he's going to make plays. So obviously, you want to surround him with a ton of shooting. I think they've done an average job of getting some good 3-point shooters around him. Tim, I think that was a mistake losing Steph Curry, letting Steph leave, who's a knockdown 3-point shooter. And then obviously Porzingis has got to stay healthy. And then they have to get a tough guy. They need a big perk on their team. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They got James Johnson, though.
Who?
James
Johnson.
Oh, no. They need to enforce it. No, seriously. I mean, James Johnson is tough, but I'm talking about they need an enforcer in the middle. I mean, they need somebody that's going to foul hard, do some things defensively, do a lot of the dirty work. When guys go at Luka because of, Luka's European and he got a lot of swag to him, you need somebody that's going to step in there and protect him and make sure those guys, you got 2 European guys that's trying to lead a team to a championship. It's like if you think about when Dirk Nowitzki was there, they did a great job of putting them killers around. The Jason Kidds, the Jason Terrys, Sean Marion. They had good players around him. The Sean Stevenson. They had those type of guys around Dirk. You got to put those same type of guys around Luka if you want to make a deep run and be a real contender in the Western Conference. If not, teams gonna kind of, how it is when people playing Dallas. They're like, oh, they soft. We'll get to them. They have that mentality. Teams got that mentality. So you got to get that out of there. I don't know who that tough guy can be, but they need to find a guy that's going to come in there and mix it up for them a little bit.
No, I agree. But I have the Dallas Mavericks at least going to the second round this year. Luka knows what he has to do, and as far as getting in shape, I was a little disappointed in him, the way that he came into the season. I thought he was going to completely transform his body. He still had that whack body, the whack body some of us had, but at least we tried to work on the motherfucker, right? But then, when you look at Porzingis, and you look at Luka, last year in the bubble, they was the highest scoring duo in the bubble. Both of them was averaging 30, right? So I'm looking at it, Troy, you right, huge loss in Steph Curry, but man, Powell don't look straight. And before he got hurt, he was looking real healthy for them. But I will say that Trae Young, Brunson, and Kleber, okay? Kleber, those 3 guys are underrated role players. I haven't seen Kleber miss a 3-point shot all season long, right? And when I look at a guy like Josh Richardson, he could possibly be a wild card at any given moment. But that's the problem. He's a guy that can give you 7 points, or you look up, he got 32. Which one is it going to be? He's not consistent enough. But now Brunson, he's a dog. When Luka was out, he was 32 and 6, So I'm just looking at their team, and if Porzingis can stay healthy, Luka has to get in shape because it's so much, he's taking so much of a pounding that I see them possibly making it to the second round this year.
Yep. Well, the matchup's going to be big, too. Like I said, that's always the key. So we have figured that part out, see what goes on now. All right, I know we already talked about it earlier, but we're coming back to these Houston Rockets. They 3-6. Now, no James Harden. No playoffs or playoffs.
Well, you got to see how they gel. They got a whole new, crew now, kind of. And you got to see. I think I can see them as a playoff team. I wouldn't think of them not being in the playoffs, but it's going to be interesting how they gel. All right, so the young fellow, the big man,
Christian Woods.
I like him. Fan of his.
Right.
Like how he plays. I like his style. I like his heart. I'm happy for him. Kind of exploding and doing well this year. The way because he had to wait his turn. And I think Oladipo is going to be good for them. I do. I like Oladipo as a player. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier. Indiana. It was time. It was time for them to move on. And sometimes you just kind of reach that period with the team, and it's time for you to move on. But he's in his contract year, so I look for him to be very productive. I think they can make the playoffs.
And just don't forget they got DeMarcus Cousins too. I mean John Wall, but you still got Eric Gordon and those guys now. We used to seeing the Rockets playing, isolation basketball, basically with Harden taking all the dribbles, then taking the shots. Now we'll see, Coach Silas. He finally, like Perk said earlier, now he has the opportunity to actually coach a team, and we'll see him playing totally different. And maybe those other guys will have a opportunity to shine as well. And with DeMarcus Cousins, like I said, he has the opportunity to come back and play well. And everybody's been waiting for John Wall to come back too. So I think that that right there will be big for this team going forward too. Long as, like you said, long as they can mesh.
For me, I think for Houston, I wouldn't be concerned with making the playoffs. You want to rebuild that culture. You want to get that locker room back. Let Silas kind of establish his style. And I don't think they can play the same way that they played, obviously, with James Harden. I don't think this is a team that should be shooting 45, 53 a game. I think you could calm it down a little bit, play more traditional basketball. I don't know how much Cousins, his body looks great. I don't know what he got in the tank. Is he a 15-10 guy? Is he a 10-10 guy? We got to figure out what he is. I'm like with Perk. I think you got to give a really, really hard look at Victor Oladipo and see where he's at, and see if he can get back to all-star level. But I wouldn't worry about making the playoffs. I'd worry about just establishing things. You got some pieces in play. You want to compete hard, play hard. Because with the pandemic and with the things that's going on now, you don't know how much practice time you're going to get with these games. They haven't even made the second half of the season of the schedule. So you just got to go with the flow right now. But know that you're in a good space. And before Victor Oladipo is the one guy that's coming up for a contract, what do you want to pay him? Do you want to keep him? So I'll worry about the little things and let coach establish his style. Because you got to go at 360. You can't play the way you played with D'Antoni there and shoot 53s a game. I don't think that's the makeup of this team.
I think if the Rockets just finish 500, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
500, that's a success for them.
Yeah, right? I like that.
Where they starting there, because I believe they're 3-6 right now, and they actually was playing inspiring basketball before James came back. The games he was out, they were playing together and actually was winning. So now you're gonna have sets. John Waller, he's already he has embraced this situation. Like he liked being in the Rockets organization. He actually loved it. So it all depends on Victor Oladipo mindset also, how he's gonna come in. But I'm pretty sure he's gonna be welcomed with open arms. The thing is, I believe that they're gonna move on from PJ Tucker, and rightfully so. I think they're gonna trade him to a contender sooner or later, probably the next month or so. But Christian Woods, great foundation. No one would be mad if you walk into a season and John Wall look healthy, right? No one will be mad walking into next season saying the Houston Rockets' big three is Victor Oladipo, John Wall, and Christian Woods. Like, you wouldn't be mad at that.
Mm-mm. It's a good starting block.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna keep it in Texas. The only other Texas team we haven't talked about yet is the Spurs. This is a younger Spurs team. I know we're all accustomed to the Spurs having a lot of veteran guys. A lot of guys are like household names. A lot of DeJounte Murray. He's guys coming into his own. Lonnie Walker the fourth, I like a lot. What do y'all think about the Spurs? Because they still have a mix of older guys they go through to get buckets late in games. At the same time, they're trying to develop younger guys. What do y'all think of the Spurs this year? I'm gonna start with Perk on this one.
They're gonna make the playoffs. I didn't have them in my preseason top 8, but watching them play, LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, they're playing with a different type of passion and energy level right now. Like it's almost to the point where y'all got me messed up. And then
contract year, Perk.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you're right, Twan. But hey, whatever it is, I'm looking at them and I'm like, hold on, they taking them, to another level. But man, I just, what the hell, like the Spurs be finding these wings that nobody be talking about, and they go get these athletic wings that could defend and not scared of nobody. By the way, Patty Mills is playing outside his mind right now.
Patty Mills, Patty Pump, baby, Patty Pump.
Yeah, and they're actually playing like a team. And what made me notice that was that when they went down to LA, they smacked the Clippers, they smacked the Lakers, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. They go to Minnesota, and I believe they split. So they won one, lost one, and then they went to Oklahoma and beat them. So on that road trip, they went 4-1, and then back to the crib. So I'm like, okay, Pop got these boys rocking right now. They playing like, okay, y'all counted us out, but we ain't going nowhere. I just don't understand when the hell he lose Forbes to Milwaukee, and then it's another. I know about Lonnie Walker, but then it's another guy at the wing position that just slid right on in.
Keldon Johnson.
Yeah,
Keldon Johnson, yeah.
I'm like, God damn, like what? Like nobody knowing that about these players, but the Spurs do.
University of Kentucky, Perk, Calvin Johnson. Okay, just start throwing that out there. No, I mean it's hard to go against. One thing about the Spurs, I think, is different in the last couple. They're healthy,
right?
We haven't. The Spurs last couple of years haven't been healthy. They got Rudy Gay coming off the bench too. They got a good mixture of veterans to go along with their young guys, and those guys know how to win. And I hate to say it, but it's contract year. DeRozan probably wants another nice deal. LaMarcus does, and they're playing a lot of inspired basketball. But they're definitely a playoff team, a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs because they're going to play you tough, and Pop is going to be ready for you.
Now, Twan, is the contract year real? Because guys always seem to have a magical year or a magical second half or a magical part of the season. Is that a real thing or is that a myth?
Oh no, that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
That's a real thing because you're playing for your livelihood, and especially a guy like DeRozan who had to opt into his deal. Aldridge had to opt into it. When you got them player options and you got to opt into your deal, that means there wasn't much out there for you. Because you look at different guys, you look at Gordon Hayward who opted out and then when they got 120 more million. You know what I mean? You look at Al Horford who opted out. And these guys opted out at $30, $34, $35 million, and when they got another 100 million on top of that. So if you're not doing that, the phone not ringing too much for DeMar DeRozan and those guys. That's why they got to play hard and put themselves in position to get a contract. So the contract year is real. Is real.
But hey, it's funny. Like I'm saying, we all been in. We know the business for the most part, but everybody know it's almost like the banana in the tailpipe. Like I'm gonna get you as good, so this one good year, so I can re-up again. You know what I'm saying? So what does that really say at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying?
That this league is what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, I guess that's further confirmation. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think, before, you was hearing Aldridge or whatever possible, leaving San Antonio, going back out to Portland. Do you think if that was the case, you think that'd be the piece that Portland could use to help them get a little farther?
No, I don't, because you don't compliment Dame well, right? and Dame and CJ. They don't need a guy that's gonna take 16 shots. Like LaMarcus still posting up on the block and slowing the game down. You know what I mean? They need a high flying, live threat rim type guy. Like, you know, like to me, a perfect fit for Portland. But I like Big Nurkic. I think he's a hell of a player in my opinion. But I thought that a guy that's undervalued, who they should have went got, was maybe a Tristan Thompson for low risk and high reward instead of bringing back Ennis Canner. Or they should have heavily pursued the Portland Trailblazers. Should have went got Jeremy Grant. Like that was Jeremy Grant to me would have took them over the top.
Yeah, that's true. I think Jeremy would have been a great pickup for them.
That's a good call, Perk.
But I do think I gotta say I respectfully disagree with you on that one. I think LaMarcus would help them. I think LaMarcus could do the things that they wanted Hassan Whiteside to do, and he did at times, but just didn't do them consistently. I think they need somebody that could throw it in there and just turn around and put the ball in. You know what I mean? That's it. Just every now and then, you know what I mean? You could throw it into them and then just be that little bit of a protector, grab some rebounds. I saw, and we even talked about Hassan Whiteside a little bit, but I could never really gauge him. Sometimes I would see him, he looked great. Sometimes I see him and like, what is this dude doing? You know what I mean? And it would be drastic differences. It would be like no middle ground. And I don't.
That's always been a knock on him, though, because you just never what you don't get. They say, they say he great talent when he focuses, but he never seemed to actually focus. You know what I'm saying? That started down in Miami too, but they had to sign him and then they let him go. You know what I'm saying? So that's always been his little thing, Whiteside. So, I guess he just never got it for the most part.
Yes.
I don't believe he never will get it, to be honest.
All right, man. We're going to move on to these LA Clippers. You got PG, got Kawhi and the new coach in T. Lue. What y'all see these Clippers doing, all the chatter from last year, the bubble, disappointment, the letdown. Do they recover, and how do they recover?
I think they could be all right. I think that they have whatever happened last year, is kind of behind them. I think that, I would like them to get another point guard to go with Patrick Beverly. I wanted Rondo to go there. I thought that would have been perfect for Rondo. Chris Paul. I want Chris Paul to go there. So I love Patrick Beverly. I love for what he do and what he brings to the game. He'd be somebody I want to pick up all the time. But they need another point guard. When you need a different look, when you need something else. And when you need somebody to set up everything the way that Chris Paul and Rondo does. You know what I mean? They need right. That. But Paul George is playing good, this year. I know he was struggling last year, but he coming out playing good, for the most part. I think one time after Christmas, I think he looked terrible. He said he had a long Christmas. But other than that, I think he been doing well. Kawhi, it's Serge. Losing Montrezl Harrell was big for them. And I still don't even understand what happened with that. And then he signed a lot less to go play with the Lakers. That's another one. You take the money, man. I'm not with that. I don't. Y'all tell me. Would you have given that much up to go play with the Lakers, or would you have taken the bag?
They didn't offer.
I thought they did offer him.
They didn't offer.
Oh, okay.
They actually let him walk. They didn't even offer. That was a rumor that they put out because they didn't want to look bad, but he was up for his bag, and that was why. It was between Charlotte. He was either gonna go take like a 2-year, $24 million deal in Charlotte, or he was gonna take a 2-year, $18 million deal for the Lakers. But he chose to go to the Lakers because it's not that far off, and it's because of the disrespect that the Clippers showed him.
I didn't know that.
For the Clippers, it's simple for me. I believe it's them Lakers. Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. I thought the underrated pickup in that in the offseason for them was Nicholas Batum. It was so much expectations on him to being a second, third option guy. He's not that. He's a really, really good role player. And that's what he's been for Ty Lue, a really good role player. He's been, great on the defensive end. This is the reason that Marcus Morris is not starting right now, and they paid him 60-something million. He's defending. He's knocking down timely threes. He's rebounding at a high level. He's doing everything, taking charges. He's doing everything that you want him to do to help them win ball games. And I just think the Clippers, with Lou Will, go come back stronger. Marcus Morris coming in off the bench. I don't know what you're going to really get out of Luke Kennard, but he'll give you something time and time again. I really like them. So I think it's going to be them and the Lakers, coming out of in the Western Conference Finals.
So does this team stay put as is, or do you think they go out and get a guard or somebody else? Can this team that they have right now just really make that run to get past them Lakers?
I don't think you got to go get another guard, because I like the work that Pat Beverly put in on his jump shot, and he's capable of making an open 3-point shot. So you can play him late and keep that defensive presence on the floor if that's something that you choose to do. So you don't necessarily. I think it's always good to have one, but that's not anything. I think with them, what I like. And I had them two, obviously, in the Western Conference. But what I like is when Kawhi Leonard got hurt and he came back and played, he didn't let this injury. The old Kawhi Leonard would have took 5 or 6 games off. Mm-hmm. He would have never played in the mask. And I think that shows to me point. that like stood out to me right away. I was like, okay, now we're seeing Kawhi. We're not talking about low management and taking days off, and for him to play, with the mask on after hurting himself, I thought that spoke volumes. So I think that right there, it's going to be them and the Lakers. I think we're going to get that matchup that we thought we were going to get this past year. It's going to be a great matchup, and we'll see if Paul George can step up and deliver when it counts. He's off to a good start. He did what he's supposed to do, put the work in. He's came off to a great start of the season, which is expected by him. And we'll see when it comes playoff time if he's ready to take it to the next level. But they're definitely the second best team in the Western Conference. And if they stay healthy, they'll be right there. They're a 55, 60-win team. Well, 72 games, so I don't know what would it be, a 50-win team? A good record?
Now, do you think an addition like Derrick Rose would help the Clippers? Because they do need a guard that can break his guy down and make plays, get into the paint consistently. Do you think that kind of addition will work out for them?
Because I feel like Derrick Rose won't be in Detroit long, so you assign him to a vet minimum. I'm taking Derrick Rose over Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, so, I forgot. I was about to say we forgot him.
Yeah, solely not just off a game, but just off a heart in general. Reggie played with a certain type of swag that I don't like. D Rose coming in and get the shit done. Hell, D Rose was a borderline all-star last year. So I'm taking D Rose, especially if it's at a vet minimum. That's low risk for high reward.
Gotcha. Now, also, actually, I believe it was Perkins mentioned this with the contract. You mentioned Montrezl Harrell turning down more money in other cities. Do you guys consider that with the state taxes being so high, like New York, California, those being so high, and then other states like Texas and Florida having none? Is that a consideration when y'all are thinking about signing as free agents?
No, Montrezl Harrell probably got the strongest agent in the game right now, Rich Paul. And if $24 million was the max money that was out there for him, then he got to get back. He got to change something. Maybe it's off the court. Maybe it's locker room. I mean, when you're 6th man of the year, you deserve a huge paycheck. And I'm pretty sure he was upset seeing the Joe Harrises, the Gordon Haywoods, and all these different guys getting big money, and then he had to end up getting the same money as Serge Ibaka. I mean, that's a problem for me. So I think it's probably some internal, maybe in the locker room. I don't know what type of guy he is. I don't know him personally. So I think it's other factors that play a part in that. So maybe he needs to carry himself a lot better and do some other things, because it should have definitely been more money in there. I don't think the city state tax or none of that stuff played a part in his decision. I think that probably was the best money that was out there for him because he's got one of the strongest agents in the game.
Well, Twan, I think it was more so that this time around, it wasn't a market for the big man. And I think that's why he signed a 2-year deal with a player option to opt out this season to go get more money.
Okay. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? Because if you look at all who got paid, it was a lot of guards and wings. The big man didn't really get paid like that. Like Serge didn't get paid like he was supposed to. Montrez didn't. And Serge came off a hell of a season. Even Tristan Thompson, I believe, was averaging like 14 and 8. He didn't even get a bag. So I think it was more so the market for the bigs this offseason. But I think it'll be better for them this upcoming offseason.
That makes a lot of sense there.
Hey, Perk. So, T. Lue, he was in Cleveland and, now he's the head coach of the Clippers. And then you have Doc Rivers, that's in Philly now. What do you think T. Lue can do to help that team get over the hump on the coaching side of things?
Well, to be honest, I mean, come on, Pose. At the end of the day, I feel like T. Lue is a baby Doc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to touch on that situation, I just felt like it really was an unfortunate situation for Doc. He just happened to be the scapegoat, okay? You know what I'm saying? For a lack of production from his players, because, Paul George saying, I wasn't put in position when I was just a pin down guy like Ray Allen. When the stats got pulled up, you was in more pick and rolls than you ever been in your life under Doc Rivers. So I just felt like that was the scapegoat. Let me blame Doc. That's something he got to be the fall guy. And so, bam, here you go. We love T. Lue, but T. Lue he's a baby Doc. Yeah. He was raised by Doc. I mean, he's a younger version, so maybe. And I can't even say that because even though Doc old, he still try to act like he young.
Right. Okay.
All right, well, we're going to move it on to the Denver Nuggets, the team that took out the Clippers last year. They've got off to a weird start. They're missing Jeremy Grant defensively. That's a guy that was really big for them, trying to get stops, especially on premier players. What do you think is going on with the Nuggets, and what do you think is the necessary change for them to get back to the conference finals? I'm going to start with Etan with this one.
They 5-6 right now. They 5-6.
I mean, they had a good playoffs last year. I was impressed. I think they lost Jeremy Grant, and I thought that's going to be a big one for them. I'm not a big fan of the young fella.
Porter,
yeah. I don't, I'm not saying he could play. It was something about his demeanor last year I thought was a little bit, little young for him to be talking about what the coach should do and shouldn't do at the press conference. Y'all remember he did that at the end, and I was like, hold up, young fella. You know what I mean? Like slow down a little bit. He's like, two guys get all the shots, so we got other. The way his whole demeanor when he was sitting there eating and the way he was coming across, I was like, I don't know about this dude. To be honest with you, right. I think he's hurt now or something happened. I don't know what he was like out indefinitely. Y'all know what happened with him, or
he got COVID.
Oh, is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. It came out today.
Oh, and that's another issue. I mean, we ain't talked about that, but I honestly don't think these cats. Do y'all think? And we only got to go into the long time, but do y'all think that these cats should even be playing right now with COVID? Like, you see all of these outbreaks, all of these games having to be canceled. I mean, I thought that last season I was bragging about a great job that Adam Silver did with the bubble. That was unlike the other. Like MLB was terrible. You know what I mean? I thought football was terrible. I thought the NHL was great. They moved them both to Canada. But the NBA was successful in the bubble. Now we looking like baseball out here. You know what I mean? Like it's not looking good. And I don't see how they finish the season going the way that they're going now.
Well, I'm gonna say this. You know, I saw George Hill remarks about him being mad about, you know, I'm a grown man, I could go out if I want to. Well, the protocol is to protect you, right? It's to protect you. Protocol is to keep the games going, right? But it's not all about the players, right? This is the problem that I have. It's so many people that's out there in America that are begging for jobs, that don't have jobs, just typical everyday people. So with that being said is, we have to think about the equipment managers, the Johnny Joes of the world, the Lynchies, the securities of the world, the medical staffs and people like that who are not getting paid millions of dollars that depend on this money to feed their family. You see what I'm saying? So if the NBA could actually put in certain protocols and say, you know what, when you're on the road, man, you go order room service and stuff, but just don't be outside your hotel. We trying to finish the season. And George Hill said, man, I'm a grown man, but it's not just about the players, man. Think about these. First of all, it's a blessing to even be working right now. Second of all, think about these others, man, that make shit happen where it's affecting their family. If you cancel the NBA, those people not getting paid. You go pay their salary, George Hill? Like, think about that, man, and stop thinking about yourself. And it's not that hard. Hell, you stand in a damn Ritz-Carlton. Shit, it ain't that damn hard. You stand in the Ritz. I used to be in my room all damn in the Ritz with my feet kicked up, playing with the remote control curtains and shit all in room service. What the hell did you so mad about it?
You make a good point. You definitely should be playing right now. I think every league, every professional league that has the money to have the testing and the protocol like they got going on, and it's going to be ups and downs. One thing about Adam Silver, if you look at it, that makes him so smart, he hasn't even scheduled the second half of the season yet. So they're doing the first half. They've cut the travel. You're playing a lot of back-to-backs against the same team. They've made the adjustments. And one thing we got to think about, and doing the financial literacy this past year with the guys, and it's a lot of guys, they need this check. So if we don't play, they don't pay.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, right?
But I think about that. Everybody, if I'm a minimum guy, and they chose to cancel the season without pay, which they would do, they went to 75% just to be cool the first time. But this time, if they're not playing, they would not pay. It's a lot of guys still living check to check. And I know we look at the money for that sometimes, but you got to be, it's a lot of guys still living check to check. So you got to put that in perspective too. You're thinking about the masses. You can't just think about the top tier guys. There's still some guys in there that just living check to check too.
But this is my thing though. I think that it's the NBA's job as an employer to have a safe working environment for your employee. And I think that they did that last year with the bubble. I don't think they're doing that this year. And I think that's what it boils down to. And you have something that, I'm not saying they need to shut it down. I'm saying that they need to come up with a system that works. And now that the way that they've had all of these, they look, like I said, it looks like baseball. All of these outbreaks, all these positive tests, all these games canceled. Now you have people at risk. And remember, we still don't know the long-term effects of somebody testing positive with COVID. And so I don't think that they're, and I imagine that Adam Silver is going to pivot and he's going to make, the right decision. I don't think they're like, the NFL where they're going to keep going regardless. And, I don't think it's that type of situation, but I do think it's the responsibility of the NBA to create a system that is safe. And right now, so like, for instance, like college, NCAA, they're terrible. Their system is horrible. They don't even have one universal system for all of the whole NCAA. Each team or conference comes up with their own system. That's a terrible system. So they're not doing a good job of keeping their players safe. If you have a good system, I'm all for it. But what they're doing right now, that's not a good system.
And guess what, Etan? They wanna bring back regional bubbles. The Players Association, like, hell no, we ain't doing the bubble again. That was the most safest place.
Right.
I mean, and if that's the safest place, then that's what they need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, I understand if the players didn't want to do it, but if it's either that or having to shut down the whole season because you have outbreaks of coronavirus all over the place.
I'm with you. They just talking about, man, mentally, man, it broke us down and all this. I was like, all right, when I heard it.
Now, how would y'all adjust to not being able to go out and kick it in cities that y'all like going in? Of course, not Utah. I know y'all not doing Utah, but it's like Miami, LA, New York, Chicago. If y'all was on the road there and y'all couldn't go out, how would y'all adjust?
Man, we gonna play Blu-ray in the room. What you mean?
Blu-ray.
Man, we ain't one thing. Well, at least I can say most guys on this panel right now are not messing up their check. So whatever the rule is, the rule is.
Yeah.
You just follow the rule.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
At this point, and most guys, and I can say this probably about most guys, that once you get a season, you kind of lock in. I mean, you do get a party a little bit during the season, but you locked in. You locked into what's going on, especially if you're on a good team and you win. You really locked in. So we'll follow the rules.
I agree.
We just talking about, them Nuggets or whatever. So what y'all think Jamal Murray he got going on this season? I know we just talked about Porter why he's out because of COVID, but I mean he was impressive in the flashes that we saw from him last year. But I'm also anxious to see if Bol get an opportunity to play because a few games that he played in, he looked pretty good to me. So I'm just trying to see if they'll be to add him into the mix with the Joker and Jamal Murray. What y'all think about that?
But Denver will be lucky to get into the playoffs, and if they do, they'll be lucky just to push a team to 7 games first round. I'm not completely sold on them. They lost Jeremy Grant, which we keep harping on, but they also lost Torrey Craig. And I'm going to go back to this. If you're trying to make it, you got to have some elite wing defenders. And guess what? Paul Millsap ain't cutting the mustard, all right? And Jamal Murray, I'm ready to see more than that sample size of what he gave us in the bubble. Can you do this over a long period of time? Like, I'm ready for you to be on a consistent basis where it's like, okay, Jamal Murray has arrived. We're not saying that right now.
No, he got out to a bad start. He started turning around a little bit now, starting to score the basketball better. I got Denver. I had Denver as one of my top 4 teams, just based off what they was able to do last year. I thought they would come back with a certain type of swag, a certain type of confidence. I know they're missing Jared Grant, but I thought Michael Porter Jr. was a terrific offensive talent. We know he lacks on the defensive end, but I thought what he was going to be able to do for you on the offensive end could kind of make up for that a little bit. They did take a step back defensively because the Joker's not a defensive guy. So your center is not a guy that can actually protect you back there. So you don't have a guy back there. So they did lose a lot there. I don't have them doing that bad. I still think just talent-wise from top to bottom on their roster, they'll win games. And, I mean, it remains to see if Jamal Murray can go on the run that he went on in the bubble. He got out to a bad start to start the season, but he's came on a little bit. And we'll see. Is Gary Harris going to get back to being the player that he's capable of being a couple years ago? I know they brought Paul Millsap back. I don't know if that was the best decision because they brought Millsap back for $10 million. You probably could have got you a couple young thoroughbreds for that, but they brought him back for like $10 million. So we'll see. I think Denver will be in there. I don't have them making a deep run in the playoffs, but I do have them making the playoffs.
Shit, we forget about Barton too. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't in the bubble last year, whatever, hurt or whatever. But now they got him back. You know, he was another little scorer that they had piece. You think that'll help too, or y'all just think sold on Denver making much noise?
I'm just not sold on him, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm not. I just I feel like they could do something, but I'm just not sold on them, man, for whatever reason, man. Because they lost too much. They lost too much. Although Big Jokic nice, he got their work, but they just lost too much.
I agree.
And I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs. I'm just saying they're not gonna be one of them top seeds anymore.
Got you. All right, so it's only one team left.
Shit.
That's the defending champs, them LA Lakers. James
Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Mike D'Antoni, Lakers in 6. Lakers is man. I mean, like, how do you win a championship and get better? Like in the offseason, how do you beat everyone in the offseason and get better? Like they got better. Yeah. And right now, to me, the worst thing that happened to the entire NBA was that they let Anthony Davis go through the highs and lows of winning a championship. And what I saw last year in the bubble is that once he put it on his mind, ain't nobody messing with him. Nobody. So I got the Lakers winning it all again, man. I really do. I think the kid, Taylor Horton Tucker, is not a fluke. He's really the real deal. Straight out of the Chi-Town, Twan. You know about him. So I think I think he's really legit. And I think sooner or later he's just gonna take Kuzma minutes all the way, and it's just that's what it's gonna be.
So so you talk about the pickups they had. Go ahead, Etan. Go ahead.
All right, I just want to ask Perk this: do you got Marc Gasol over Dwight and JaVale McGee?
Not for his rim protection, but I got him in other areas. Once he get in shape, he's a better passer. He stretches the floor. And now when you have Marc Gasol stretching the floor, now you reverse the role and you have Anthony Davis being a live threat. See, what people don't understand, Marc Gasol not going to play that many minutes anyway. It's going to be AD and Montrez. And what happens is people didn't value what Montrez bought on the defensive end. Another guy that could switch 1 through 5. But on top of that, he finished top 10 in rim protection, and he finished top 15 in taking charges.
Mm-hmm. I'm good with Montrez. You know what I mean? I think that was a great pickup. I'm not good with the Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee not signing them back and bringing in Marc Gasol. That's what I'm not good with. I think that was a step down.
Y'all know what's crazy? Is that Dwight Howard passed up like $7 million with the Lakers to go sign a vet minimum with the Philadelphia 76ers.
But they said they didn't offer him those $7 million.
They did offer him $7 million.
I don't know. I don't know who, somebody lying, because that's the same way the Clippers said that they offered Montrez. So somebody lying, you know what I mean? But Dwight saying they didn't offer him nothing. And he said that they didn't even call him. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, I think they undervalued what Dwight did for them last year. And I saw when they played Denver, Dwight changed that whole series himself. When he came in and he was, Joker was all out of sorts. You know what I mean? He was all messed up. And Dwight, how he was being physical with him, got him completely out of his game. And I thought that really was the impacting fact that factor that changed the season. Changed their series. I think now you don't have that out of a 7-footer. Those little drives when they would have run that pick and roll from the top, and then that easy lob to Dwight or JaVale, which was the easy 2 that they did all year. You ain't got that no more. Marc Gasol not doing that. So I kind of, as far as the rim protector from a 7-footer from both, when they used to interchange both of them, I just thought that was invaluable. So I'm good with, I think there's positives and they got improved in every position, but that Dwight and JaVale and bringing Marc Gasol to replace them too, I'm not rolling with that part.
Marc Gasol has been horrible defensively. I can't lie. I'm just looking at what he brings offensively, but it's just that the Lakers upgraded, man. Like getting Wesley Matthews for $3.6 million, and getting off of Danny Green that was making $16 million, and being able to keep Alex Caruso was like a great thing. Caldwell Pope finally caught his rhythm. And then you just got Braun and AD, the best duo in basketball.
You got Dennis Schroeder too. He was, that was a big pickup for him too.
Yeah.
So, they lose Rondo, but they get Dennis Schroeder too. So we talked about Kyle Kuzma earlier. So where does he really fit in to this Laker team? You know what I'm saying? Like we see him, he's one of those, young young guns that's, he was
He
hot,
know.
and now he sort of fell off and he wasn't producing. How does that affect him, and where do the Lakers go away from him? Do they try to trade him?
He don't know how to play the game of basketball, bro. Like, I'm trying to see, when are you going to learn to play the game of basketball? Like, it's just like, it's out there and you dealing with a kid or a high schooler. Maybe y'all can help me, but when I'm watching the game, he just looked lost all the time. And I'm like, when is it go click? Like, when does this grown man go click in you? Like, he gets burnt defensively. He's always messing defensive coverages. And offensively, he just catches shoot. Whatever shot he think, good or bad, he's just trying to shoot the ball. And I'm like, I don't know when he's going to get better, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard you can't really fight that. I agree with what you said.
Well, I think the Lakers, I got the Lakers to win it all. They did, to lose three guys, the three guys that they lost, to add the pieces they did, they won. I think losing Rondo is probably the biggest factor. I think Rondo really got them over the hump in the bubble that replaced him. So, but Dennis Schroeder's a good replacement, and he'll be fine. He's younger and he can be there for a while. The difference, I think, Perk, you touched on it earlier, and I'm not being biased because he's from Chicago, but I think Harden is the big difference.
Man,
I think he's the guy that they're eventually going to turn. He's going to be a guy that they turn to off the bench. He could be an X factor for them. And I think that's kind of put the pressure on Kuz. They did give Kuz an extension, but I think that was just more or less, taking care of their pick. But the Lakers are loaded. Barring any injuries to Anthony Davis or LeBron, they're going to be very difficult in a 7-game series. I just don't see it right now. Until some of these other teams get it, as the season progresses with some of these other teams, but they're gonna be tough, man. They got everything that they need. They lost some athletic ability. All they lost was some athletic ability in the center spot with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. And they may have to play small. Anthony Davis may have to go play some 5 because of Marc Gasol, maybe a little lack on the defensive end, but they got Montrezl Harrell, so they picked up all the pieces.
So with that being said, we just finished up this West. So what does the finals look like? It seems like everybody got the Lakers on from the coming out on this West, or / Clippers for the most part. But who y'all got from the East that could battle them and win it all? Think about that. But then also, who y'all have as MVP and Defensive Player of the Year as well?
Well, I know mine off the top. I got Joel Embiid as my MVP because I feel like Philly is going to finish top 2 in the Eastern Conference. And I'm undecided, but I tell you what, it's split down 3 ways for me who's coming out of the Eastern Conference. It's either Philly, it's either the Nets, or it's either the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, and Tristan Thompson. And then you have a nice bench with Jeff Teague, Peyton Pritchard, who's a rookie, but he's not a rookie. When you watch him play, he's just different. So I'm looking at that, and you can't count out the Milwaukee Bucks. You can't count out the Miami Heat. Really, the East is up for grabs. It's who's playing the best basketball going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Brooklyn. I mean, if everything works out the way that it, and they can share the ball and they got the rhythm and everything else, works out off the court or whatever else is going on with Kyrie, I see Brooklyn coming out. I mean, there's too much firepower, too much scoring. And KD has been looking really good. I think I could see them. I don't know about Boston. I got to see them put it all together. I like them. You know what I mean? I just got to see them all put it together. Same with Philly. I mean, Philly gets to the end, and it's like their immaturity shows, and they can't keep showing that same immaturity every year. They're getting too old for that now. You know what I mean? Now it was all right for a little bit before, but now y'all getting too old for that. I mean, Ben, he got to learn. I mean, he don't have to be KD shooter, but he got to at least be able to take the shot. You know what I mean? Like they'll be playing so far off of him, and it messes up everything. You got to at least be able to take the shot to keep them honest, and that's something that he gonna have to do. But I like their team. I just got to see them grow up. That's it.
I like the Lakers out the West, and I like the Milwaukee Bucks out the East. I got the Bucks to come out the East. I love the additions to their team. I think they're going to be able to hire Giannis a little bit. He's going to still have to improve come playoff time. Free throw line, maybe making the mid-range jump shot. I'm not going to worry about his three-point shooting, but he's going to have to mix up his game a little bit. The Miami Heat kind of exposed him, but with Holiday, I think Chris Middleton gained the confidence for being in the playoffs last year, that knowing that he can go be the guy on the team. I just like their additions, their pickups. I like Bobby Portis. I just like the things that they did. I like them coming out the East.
MVP. Wow, that surprised me right there, Boogie. That surprised me that you went with the Bucks right there. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Bucks. I just think with Brooklyn, and I just don't know where Kyrie Irving's head's at. James Harden. I don't know how he's going to be able to adjust, not having the ball and being able to take 25 dribbles a game. He's not necessarily a great spot-up three-point shooter. Durant's on an offensive tear right now, averaging 30. Look like he's back to himself. I just don't know how that's going to mix. Joe Harris is another guy. They don't have a lot defensively. You think about those guys, Kyrie and Harden are not great defensive players. So I'm not going to take them right away. I'm not saying within the next 2-3 years they win the NBA title. Of course they can. But I don't think it happens right away. Not having a lot of practice time and just trying to put this thing together. It's going to be very difficult to do. I just like what the moves that Milwaukee made. So I like Milwaukee. MVP's up for grabs. I think this will be the year that whichever team is able to, out that top 6 teams in both divisions, whichever team is able to probably have the best record, the second best record in the league, will produce. That's why I think Perk is picking, Philly, because Philly's going to probably have one of the better records in the league. You always got to keep LeBron James in that conversation, and you got to keep Durant in that conversation. At some point, Brooklyn's going to hit their stride.
Right. So I'm hearing KD. You know what I'm saying? I hear Bron. I'm hearing, y'all said Steph Curry earlier. Does Luka fall in that MVP race or whatever? Or anybody else?
They got to win at a high level. They got to be 10, 15 games on 500, I think.
And with the MVP, you know what I'm saying, how it comes out, towards the end of the season. Do you think that should change? Should you just wait to the league should just wait until everything is done before they announce the MVP? Because, like sometimes, there's been situations where that MVP might not make it to the finals or might not get far advanced in the playoff and they lose. And it was like, how can he be the MVP?
We did this last year, Pose. I know that was your topic, man, but the MVP is for the regular season. Right. They got to change it. If they don't want it to be that, then they got to change it to something else. But the MVP is for the regular season. So even though my man didn't make it past the first round, he was the regular season MVP.
Right.
All right. So there y'all have it, man. Listen, I appreciate y'all time, man.
No
coming out and talking about these teams on the West. It will be an interesting season, like you said, even with the COVID and the players in and out. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they get it together. They see this first go around, what they need to do for the second half of the season. I think that'll be big for us. You made some great points, Etan. Big Perk, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. Antoine, also appreciate your time. Both of y'all busy over there doing what you do, but taking the time out to have this little roundtable discussion of this season. So that's what it is. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here first on our end, and that's what it is. I appreciate it,
man. Happy birthday to you, man.
Yeah, because my good drink. I'm about to have an adult beverage right now.